This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It's been an emotional week for the families of Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron, one they're still trying to process. Just 2 days ago, Premier Wab Kinew told the families the search for their loved ones is happening and soon. The women are among 4 victims of an admitted serial killer, their remains believed to be buried somewhere in a Winnipeg area landfill. Mercedes Myron's family says it's time to bring her home. CBC's Josh Crabb reports.
It's been an emotional 2 years for supporters and family of homicide victim Mercedes Myron. The first-degree murder trial for the man who admitted to killing her and 3 other women just ended, and now efforts are ramping up to recover Morgan Harris's and Myron's remains.
Even the trial took a lot out of me. But now we're going to get to bring our girl home, and I'm so happy about that.
Myron's grandmother, Donna Bartlett, found out the search would go ahead during a meeting with Premier Wab Kinew on Tuesday. They took a tour of the landfill, where work to set up a healing house and search facility has already begun. She was told the actual search could start as soon as this summer.
I'm hoping by the end of July, beginning or August, to start searching, or maybe sooner, depending on how everything goes. But it will be soon. Might take a while for them to find them, but they will find them.
The estimated search area is about 2 hectares in size and 10 meters deep. The Premier has said the women's remains are believed to be located closer to the middle of this area rather than near the surface. Landfill material will be excavated and searched manually. Kyra Wilson is the former chief of Long Plain First Nation, where Myron and Harris were members. She helped the families fight for a search after Winnipeg police initially decided not to, and the previous government said no.
Everyone worked really hard to show that Indigenous women, First Nations women, matter in our society. And that's what we see today is this landfill search to bring these women home.
It's believed Harris's and Myron's remains arrived at the landfill May 16, 2022. Prairie Green halted dumping in the area where they were taken 34 days later. Bartlett understands a search will come with challenges of its own, but she's confident her granddaughter will be found.
It's been a hard journey, very hard journey to go. We should have never had to go through it, but we did it.
The Premier says if the women aren't found at first, the search area could be expanded. He says the recovery effort could last until 2026. Josh Crabb, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Taking away a person's rights is supposed to be a last resort, but a CBC News investigation found that several people placed under the public guardian and trustee of Manitoba say they are very capable of managing their affairs. Yet somehow a doctor deemed them incapable, and now they're fighting to get out. The I-Team's Caroline Bargut has the story.
This is not how George Kinsman thought he would be spending his senior years. Broke and alone. 2 years ago, he collapsed in his apartment. While in hospital, the 73-year-old widower was placed under the care of Manitoba's public guardian after a doctor deemed him incapable of looking after himself.
I felt outraged. I felt like I was being beat up, mentally. I'm sorry,
The public guardian and trustee has full control of Kinsman's finances. It decides what bills should be paid and when. Even his mail is redirected to them. He gets an allowance of $140 a week to buy groceries, cat food, and cigarettes.
I had to ask him at Christmas time, could I please have $100 to buy Christmas presents? And they reluctantly gave it to me. Reluctantly. So it's like, they control every aspect of my life. I can't do anything at all.
Boyd Noble knows what that's like. The 74-year-old also ended up under guardianship in 2022 after a medical incident landed him in hospital. When he got out, he was placed in a care home. The trustee sold his car and most of his furniture and even put his house on the market. And there was nothing he could do to stop any of it.
It's just like jail. You eat what they give you, you sleep where they tell you, you don't go out, you can't go out. I would have been almost like a prisoner, and if I would have got out of that, I would have been a street person because I had no assets.
Unlike Kinsman, Noble says he didn't get an allowance, so for 2 years, he had to rely on the generosity of others to get by. He's slowly trying to furnish his apartment and regain some of the things he lost. But he's actually one of the lucky ones because he managed to get out of guardianship thanks to some help from 2 friends. Without them, he believes he would have been stuck in the system forever. For Darren Elias, it was a dispute with a neighbor that landed him under the care of the Guardian. He still doesn't understand why. He looks after a small farm, regularly using heavy equipment and machinery.
I'm 62. I'm well capable. I work everything around here. The table saw behind you, the drill presses.
More than 2,700 Manitobans are under the care of the public trustee. In each of those cases, a doctor decides they're incapable of looking after their own affairs and recommends the government take over. Then, Manitoba's chief psychiatrist gets those recommendations and ultimately decides if a person should have their rights taken away or not.
If somebody's unable to care for themselves repeatedly and continuously, I think as part of a kind and caring society, we have a responsibility to assist people, and sometimes that means taking over their assets.
Provincial data shows the chief psychiatrist rejects just 14% of the cases that end up in front of him.
Also maintains your autonomy and your...
Lisa Engel is an associate professor at the University of Manitoba in the Department of Occupational Therapy. She says the province needs to help society's most vulnerable, but worries about how that's being done. She sees cases where people end up under guardianship because they're bad at paying bills or would rather use their money to buy drugs instead of groceries.
It's really easy to become biased of what is my values versus what someone else's values are. And if we don't reflect and try and understand that, then we can often make erroneous decisions about what that person can do or how good of a decision they make.
In some cases, she believes people just need social support or other resources instead of being stripped of their autonomy. And once lost, that autonomy is hard to regain. George Kinsman is fighting to get out of the Guardian's control. For him, a doctor's assessment is key, but it's a months-long wait to get in. It's just another hurdle in a years-long battle to take his life back. Caroline Barkoot, CBC News, Winnipeg.
If you have a tip for our I-Team, you can call our confidential tip line at 204-788-3744 or email iteam@cbc.ca. A Manitoba New Democrat MP is facing questions about a trip she took with her family to Quebec over Christmas 2 years ago. Documents show Canadians paid more than $17,000 for the trip.
Rules of the House of Commons are very clear, whether we meet as on constituency issues or critic areas that's understood to be part of our work. And as I said, I had the chance to meet with various people who are connected to the issue of French language, French culture preservation.
Ashton says she was meeting with people to talk about the decline of French in her role as languages critic. However, when pressed, Ashton couldn't name a single person she met. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation is calling on Ashton to give a better explanation. They say she needs to show the trip was valuable to Canadians. It's been nearly 1 year since the deadly bus crash near Carberry that killed 17 seniors, injured 8 other people, and changed the lives of so many others. It's a day that's etched in the minds of many Manitobans, yet 12 months later, there are still so many unanswered questions, some that may never come, as RCMP say they're unable to speak to the man who was driving the bus that day. CBC's Gavin Axelrod has more.
It's been nearly a year since the tragic bus crash near Carberry. Manitoba RCMP Superintendent Rob Lassen says it won't be forgotten.
Even though throughout our careers we attend many tragic scenes, but this one was honestly above and beyond anything that we can comprehend. This was a very chaotic, sad scene to attend.
The bus carrying 25 people to a casino was hit by a semi-trailer as it was crossing the Trans-Canada Highway near Carberry. Police previously said the semi-trailer had the right-of-way, and while RCMP have spoken to people who were on the bus that day as part of their investigation, Lassen says investigators may never be able to speak to its driver.
The results of the accident inflicted some severe medical issues for the driver, and he's not able to provide those answers that we would like.
Evidence gathered since the crash has been submitted to Crown prosecutors. It's currently under review. The Crown hasn't decided yet whether to lay charges, and there's no exact timeline for when that decision will be made. But Lassen expects it will be sooner rather than later.
We needed to get this right, and I'm confident that we did. And I promised the family and the public that we'd have accurate answers, and that took time.
The people killed in the crash were from Dauphin and the surrounding area. A monument honoring their lives will be unveiled at CM Park in Dauphin Saturday. Lassen says officers who were at the crash that day will be in attendance and expects it to be an emotional day. Gavin Axelrod, CBC News, Winnipeg.
It's emergency personnel like the ones who responded that day near Carberry who are the first to show up. They answer the call when people are in need. It's that important role in communities that kids at one Inkster Garden neighbourhood school have spent months reflecting on. Today, they hosted a special event for first responders. CBC's Emily Brass was there.
Okay, how about Ray here? They were treated like rock stars. Grade 5 students at Meadows West School lined up for first responders' autographs.
That's incredible.
The kids spent months writing essays, painting rocks, creating playlists, even making dioramas of fire stations.
I made some vehicles like this helicopter.
All of it is dedicated to Winnipeg first responders. 11-year-old Michaela Obanea wrote a poem to thank them for their bravery.
Whenever we're in danger, they help us, and they risk their lives just to try and save us. And not much people would do that.
Tiago Benavides made one of dozens of paintings to be sent to fire and paramedic stations across the city. The 10-year-old hopes their art brings first responders a bit of calm after a tough day.
I hope that they know that life is good, and that if they're feeling down, they can get people to help them.
He and his classmates also raised money, a little bit at a time, for the family of Winnipeg firefighter Preston Hainbigner. He died by suicide after struggling with the trauma of his job. Longtime firefighter Doug Sinclair was a friend.
Today with the class, it kind of catches you off guard a little bit with the emotion, but it's something that it takes time for people to heal with things like that.
Paramedic Patrick McGuinness says he was moved to see how much time children spent trying to make them feel good. He says looking at their artwork after a hard day will remind first responders they're appreciated.
We've seen things that human beings aren't meant to see and aren't meant to deal with. And to come back and see this would just make it all worthwhile.
The students were also honored for all of their hard work. Benavides says the project left him inspired.
It felt good. To help other people, it feels really good.
Emily Brass, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A Winnipeg judge has sentenced a man who killed his Indigenous partner to 16 years in prison without any chance of parole. Justin Robinson pleaded guilty to second-degree murder for killing Tessa Perry in 2022. And a warning, this story contains disturbing details. Robinson beat and stabbed the woman to death at her Winnipeg home. Part of his attack was witnessed by 2 of her children, including one they shared together. The judge pointed to the fact that Perry was an Indigenous woman in a case involving intimate partner violence as part of the reason for giving him a longer sentence. Perry's aunt says the ruling sends a message to the wider public.
We're starting to look at the injustices in the justice system and that they have to do a complete overhaul in relation when it comes to how justice is served on violent crimes against Indigenous women, girls, and Two-Spirit and gender diverse people in this country. Is 16 years enough? Absolutely not. Tessa's children have to grow up without their mother.
Perry's 4 children are living together with another family member. Family and friends gathered for a vigil last night to remember the father who died after being stabbed near his son's elementary school in downtown Winnipeg. Ricky Manchese died Tuesday. The assault happened around noon on Kennedy Street near Cumberland Avenue. His wife described him as a funny and outgoing person who had a passion for drumming and music.
He was such an outgoing person, friendly. He always lent a helping hand. He called himself, everybody called him like a comedian. And some people called him like a gentle giant.
She says they were walking home to meet their 12-year-old son for lunch when an aggressive man approached them. She says her husband and the man got into a fight when the suspect pulled out a knife. He fled the scene. Some Manitobans are cleaning up after multiple tornadoes touched down in Manitoba yesterday. One storm chaser says he's never seen anything like it in our province. Riley Lachuk has the story.
It's a sight storm chaser Jordan Carruthers says he's never seen before in Canada in his over 15 years of storm chasing.
It just kept happening, one after the other, and at this point we're all like, what is happening?
Carruthers says he saw 4 tornadoes touch down in a matter of hours Wednesday afternoon. The first, he says, a brief twister north of Brandon near Rivers before 2 more touched down east of town.
Got my weather station on the roof up there.
Carruthers tracked that same storm 200 kilometers southeast to Swan Lake First Nation.
It was just a very adrenaline-filled, exciting chase, and then we ended it off on that really photogenic tornado. It's unfortunate that it did cause some damage.
There, a 4th twister damaged a home and the community's powwow arbor. Chief Jason Daniels says he's grateful the damage wasn't worse.
Very fortunate. If it would have went a few 100 meters north, I think we would have had some more damages to housing, and that would have been a lot more serious. So we're very grateful, thankful.
Environment Canada is investigating the possibility up to 5 tornadoes touched down in Manitoba Wednesday. The first warnings were issued around 3:30 p.m. in western Manitoba and continued as the storm tracked some 300 kilometers southeast. Researchers at the Northern Tornadoes Project at Western University will be investigating all of Wednesday's touchdowns.
We're looking at the very least 5 or so tornadoes that happened in the one day.
Connell Miller says Manitoba typically gets around 7 or 8 tornadoes per year. Having up to 5 in one day, not unheard of, he says, but also not common. Miller says a team of researchers will likely be on the ground investigating each touchdown for 2 or 3 days.
It's the meteorologist's job to sort of help us determine where these things might have started and stopped. And then we have engineers on site that can take a look at structures that have been damaged and actually work backwards from that to determine a wind speed.
Chief Daniels says repairs are already being arranged for the home that was damaged in Swan Lake yesterday. He also says the community has been rallying together to try and get the powwow arbor repaired in time for the community's powwow in just 2 weeks' time. Riley Lachuk, CBC News, near Portage La Prairie.
From Portage to our studios here in Winnipeg, Riley, you've had a busy day.
Been a busy couple of days.
Yes, but it's been a much calmer weather day than what we were seeing yesterday. And fortunately, no people injured yesterday in any of these storms as well.
No people injured and very little damage considering what could have happened with some of these storms. Much calmer day today, although we were coming back on the west edge of Winnipeg and we did run into one of those little popcorn showers. It kind of poured for a couple minutes and back to sunshine again, and that's what we're kind of expecting into the evening tonight, Brittany. Looking at satellite radar, and you can see, we're under a mainly sunny sky across much of Manitoba. Few clouds hanging around in the Westman region and into the Paw region, where we are seeing a few showers, and you can kind of see some of that indicated on radar in the Dauphin Swan River region. So, a few showers still lingering around, but we are seeing, as mentioned, much calmer conditions throughout the day today, and that's really what we're setting up to look at in terms of the day on Friday. Much calmer conditions and not much in the way of precipitation over the next couple of days anyway. But we'll get into that. We could see a little more rain in terms of thunderstorms as well by the time we roll into Saturday. Friday starts mainly sunny across the province. We're looking at a mainly sunny day for Friday, and as mentioned, cloud starts to build in a little bit as we get into the day on Saturday. A little bit of instability along that northwestern corner of the province, but look at what happens as I put this in motion and we get into the afternoon hours. High temperatures close to the 30-degree mark, and we're looking at some fairly high humidity levels as well as we head into the day on Saturday. That brings us a good recipe for more thunderstorm activity as we head into the day on Saturday. So earlier in the day, we're looking at a chance of some scattered showers, but once we roll into that late afternoon, early evening period, we are setting up to look at a good risk for some thunderstorm activity, potentially severe as we head into the early evening hours on Saturday. Into Sunday, Manitoba Marathon, of course, happening early Sunday morning, which I'll talk about in just a second. Starting mainly cloudy. Hint we could see maybe a little bit of instability as that is starting, but generally we're looking at a mainly cloudy and pretty muggy start to your Sunday. And we're looking at conditions kind of clearing out as we see this next area of instability kind of pushing its way into northern Manitoba as we get later on into Sunday. So race day, when things kind of get underway at 7 o'clock in the morning, we're looking at a temperature around 19 degrees. Could see some scattered showers first thing in the morning, but I will caution that it's looking like it's going to be quite humid first thing in the morning, feeling closer to 24. And when things are wrapping up closer to that lunch hour, we're looking at a 21-degree temperature, feeling closer to 28. So we're looking at a bit of a muggy start and a muggy race day for your Sunday for the Manitoba Marathon. 21 in Winnipeg right now. That is what we were aiming for today, forecast-wise. Winds kind of variable at about 6 at the moment. We're looking at winds really staying around that 5-10 kilometer range through the evening tonight. Overnight 10 degrees in Winnipeg, a clear sky. Starting sunny tomorrow morning, southwest winds 15 gusting 30. 17 first thing in the morning and all the way up to 26 degrees for your afternoon tomorrow. Mainly sunny, and if you like the heat, it gets better from there. 28 for your Saturday. Watch for that risk of a thunderstorm. 25 for Sunday, and then our pattern shifts a little bit as we start next week. Brittany, we're looking at maybe some more showers on Tuesday. But I'm thinking about the 28.
I was going to say, it's just a little bit of a tease for that weekend.
I'm keeping my eyes on that.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, it's been 30 years since the first sturgeon was released into the waters of northern Manitoba. That marked the creation of the Nelson River Sturgeon Board, a conservation effort. This week, the prehistoric fish were released in Norway House to celebrate. CBC's Jenna Delavich has more.
What's his name? Timmy! There goes Timmy. Wait, Timmy! Timmy, you can't come back! Give him a little push that way. Turn him around, Yay! Ah, look at him go.
My name is Tom Scott. I represent the Nelson River Sturgeon Board. I represent the Cross-Age Band of Indians and the Michikaback Nation of northern Manitoba. Yeah, my father, Ernie Scott, was the founder of the Nelson River Sturgeon Board. He passed away in 1996. If it wasn't for him and his work and his one of the early visions of our leaders, then we wouldn't have something like this.
Yeah, they're not as they're sharp if you grab them, especially if you have a lot of tension on your hand.
We need to be proactive, and we need to be forefront runners because we are the original ecologists of the land. We are the ones that are trying to keep and protect our nature from all kinds of different things, all different kinds of harm, especially the waterways of our communities.
Very exciting. I think I'm more exciting than some of the kids that are out there, but this is something that we do, and it's really improved over the years.
So these scoots here are actually bone plates that are fused into their skin. Plates on their body that are hooks, and it keeps them from getting eaten by other fish.
I think with the interest that we're giving to the youth today, it'll be really, it'll survive and continue to be a very important board for when they grow up and take over.
If we don't do it, nobody will. They represent a species that's been here for millions of years, and they're still around, so we have to do our best to protect them for another million years.
They'd rather fight than sit in prison. Ukraine is now taking extraordinary steps to bolster its forces, conscripting convicts as troop numbers dwindle. That story and more when we return after the break. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and other G7 leaders are meeting in Italy, have agreed on a new deal to help Ukraine. They plan to use billions of dollars in frozen Russian assets to help Kyiv fund its ongoing war with Moscow. CBC's Ashley Burke has the story.
The message from G7 leaders on day one, everything's falling into place, with a deal to help Ukraine in a new way. The Prime Minister promising a multi-billion-dollar loan to help Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's ongoing fight against Russia.
Canada is actually the first country to announce $5 billion of that will be a Canadian contribution.
They will help Ukraine not only on the battlefield, also in reconstruction.
Canada's contribution is part of a bigger $50 billion deal, agreed to by all G7 leaders.
Today is a truly historic day.
The U.S.-led plan involves using the interest earned on profits from hundreds of billions of dollars of frozen Russian assets as collateral for a loan that would see countries get their money back.
To put that money to work for Ukraine, another reminder to Putin, we're not backing down.
Russia's foreign ministry immediately fired back, calling it an illegal initiative and warning retaliatory measures will be inevitable and extremely painful. With Russia making gains on the battlefield, experts say Ukrainian troops need a lot more help, including from Canada.
There's also a big gap between what's been committed and what Ukraine actually needs, which is essentially more of everything.
At a meeting of Ukraine's allies in Belgium, Canada's defense minister announced more than 130,000 rounds of small arms ammunition, a remote weapon system, and motors for attack rockets for Ukraine.
Canada is beginning shipments of a new fleet of 50 armored vehicles to Ukraine.
Canada also announced new sanctions against those supplying key technology to help Russia's military. Pope Francis is expected to join G7 leaders for discussions on the dangers of artificial intelligence on Friday. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Bari, Italy.
The latest international support is welcome news, but Ukraine has a growing domestic problem, dwindling troop numbers. The country is now taking the extraordinary step of conscripting convicts to bolster its forces. CBC's Briar Stewart has the details.
Just outside of Ukraine's capital city, a medium security penal colony which we were given permission to visit. The hundreds of men serving here are part of a pool of potential new soldiers, like 25-year-old Renat Termagalyev, who is keen to enlist. He's serving a 10-year sentence for murdering his former boss at a construction site. I do what they tell me to do, he said. I can shoot and dig trenches. It doesn't matter. Across Ukraine's sprawling front lines, soldiers are exhausted, units depleted, and despite a recruitment campaign, few civilians are rushing to step in, which is why last month lawmakers passed a bill to try and recruit thousands from prisons like this one.
Around 100 inmates from this prison have already been released and sent to eastern Ukraine, where they're receiving military training, and dozens of others are waiting for their applications to be processed.
We can see of the picture prisoners.
Before they get the green light, there's a brief court hearing where a judge tries to ensure they haven't been pressured into signing up.
I asked some prisoners about this motivation. Some of these tell me that feel some responsibility of our country, of our Ukrainian people.
Earlier in the war, Russia's Wagner mercenary group made a big push to quickly enlist prisoners, promising them a pardon if they survived 6 months of war. Several thousand of them didn't, and the Ukrainian inmates say they're well aware of the risk that lies ahead.
Are you concerned at all that you could be sent to the front with very little training?
I think everything will be okay, he said. But if my destiny is I'll be killed, then so it will be. In Ukraine, inmates who enlist will be required to fight until the war is over. Only then will they be granted parole. Briar Stewart, CBC News, near Kyiv.
Tesla shareholders have approved a $56 billion compensation package for its CEO, Elon Musk, and also gave a green light to move the electric vehicle company's legal home from Delaware to Texas. It's considered the largest payout in U.S. corporate history. The vote serves a big endorsement of Elon Musk's leadership. Shareholders also approved the re-election of 2 other board members, Musk's brother Kimball and James Murdoch, the son of media mogul Rupert Murdoch. Ballots were cast online or in person at the company's annual meeting in Austin. In January, the landmark package was thrown out by a Delaware judge who determined Musk was not entitled because he controlled the Tesla board.
You can break ribs because of the twisting and the spasm.
She's a Canadian icon, but she's been unable to perform for years. But Celine Dion says she will be back. The superstar sat down with CBC's Adrian Arsenault to talk about the rare neurological disorder that's kept her from the stage. More straight ahead. Canadian superstar Celine Dion has not performed in 4 years as she continues to battle a rare neurological disorder. The singer spoke with CBC News chief correspondent Adrian Arsenault about her health struggles, the emotional toll, and her fight to return to the stage. Here's some of their conversation.
At the beginning, it was totally something light that would be, I would say, spasmodically in the throat.
So it started with your voice?
It started in my voice, traveling on tour, and I started to feel a spasm, kind of somebody pressing back. So what it does in the vocal cords is that you feel, not normal, the stress, the panic. I started to compensate because I had a show that night.
Her first symptoms in 2008, going unexplained until a few years ago when she got her diagnosis of stiff person syndrome. Celine Dion hasn't performed for 4 years, has said very little. But when we met near her home in Las Vegas, she explained it has more than interrupted her career, it's threatened her life.
When you get in spasms so much, well, you don't remember everything. It can last a moment, it can last a few hours. You can break ribs because of the twisting and the spasm.
Maybe you've heard that stiff person syndrome affects 1 in a million people. The thing is, that's not quite right. Celine Dion's doctor says the numbers are more like 2 in 100,000, and they're changing all the time as more people get diagnosed and more people start to understand just what kind of cruel creature this really is.
Why cruel? Well, consider what Celine's doctor, Dr. Amanda Paquette, describes as the triggers setting off the sorts of spasms that have put Celine in hospital.
The triggers that we do see are emotional stress. It could be a positive stress, it could be a negative stress. Areas that are very crowded can trigger spasms. We can see it with lights, with noise. So things that stimulate the nervous system.
Light, sound, emotion, everything that's fueled Celine Dion now seems to hurt her. Coping in the early days meant sometimes dangerous doses of Valium. She's learning more about managing the illness now and teaching her sons how to help. But this is a progressive disease that will continue to steal from her. Adrienne Arsenault, CBC News, Las Vegas.
You can watch the full interview on our CBC News website. It's also streaming on the National's YouTube page, and there are more exclusive excerpts tonight on the National. Plus, the full interview will air on CBC television tomorrow night at 8. It will also replay over the weekend on News Network. It's watching a little piece of my childhood there. It's nice to see that things are looking up, though. For sure. Things also looking up in the forecast. You teased us a little bit earlier in the show with a 28-degree day.
Heat, yeah. You like
but then a little dip right after.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be a pleasant morning for your dog walk tomorrow.
Maybe.
Some sunshine and not a lot of wind.
Perfect.
Here is the dog walking forecast. Here is a picture of Lucy. Bernadine sent this in, and I have to apologize because Bernadine sent this picture in actually a long time ago, and somehow it got deleted out of my folder of pictures, but I got it back, so thank you for sending it in again. This is Lucy. Talkback at cbc.ca is where you can send your pictures to, because I'd love to see them all. 17, first thing in the morning in Winnipeg, a sunny sky. A few clouds throughout the day tomorrow, but otherwise we're looking at a pretty pleasant day. Not a lot of wind, as I mentioned, either, at 26 degrees by the time we hit the afternoon. 21s across the Red River Valley throughout the afternoon today. 21 degrees in Portage as well. Couple degrees below normal for this time of the year. Also at 21 in Gimli this afternoon, as well as in Dauphin. 20s back to the west again, a few degrees below normal for this time of the year, but our pattern is shifting around a little bit. You can kind of see where that cloud cover and some of that shower activity through parts of northern Manitoba kind of held temperatures back a little bit. I did mention a bit of a pattern shift, so you can kind of see the jet stream here and how it sinks down across northwestern Ontario. But look at what happens as we get into the day on Saturday. You can see that ridging starting here and that warm pocket of air that I was talking about really moving into the prairie provinces. A little bit short-lived though, because look what happens by the time we reach Sunday. You can start to see that ridge eroding and the jet stream really sinking back down again, bringing us some cooler weather by the time we reach Monday and Tuesday once again. So looking at some cooler and wetter conditions as we start next week. Tonight's forecast looks like this. Temperatures really right around 9-10 degrees for most of us through southern Manitoba. 11 in Kenora overnight tonight. We're looking at partly cloudy skies. Slim chance we could see a few more sprinkles yet through the evening hours through Dauphin, Swan River and Roblin, associated with some of that rain that moved through parts of northern Manitoba today. 5 overnight tonight in Thompson, starting at 8 tomorrow. Mix of sun and clouds through the day tomorrow. Maybe a few odd sprinkles throughout the day. Once again, some scattered showers. Otherwise, we're looking at mainly sunny conditions throughout the day. Temperatures right around 20 for most in northern Manitoba, 18 in Grand Rapids, 14 in Churchill. For the south, we're looking at sunny start to the day as well, and the sunshine kind of hangs around as we get through the day. Not a lot of weather to talk about tomorrow, aside from maybe a bit of cloud cover through the west by the end of the day. 24s through the Westman region, 26 tomorrow in Winnipeg. Brittany, I've got your 7-day forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Do you know what your teen is using to stay awake in class? Many kids are staying up late. It used to be coffee or soda, but now something that packs a lot more of a caffeinated punch. We'll hear what that is straight ahead. A Winnipeg teacher says energy drinks are causing major problems in classrooms. Previously, students relied on a cup of coffee or a can of cola to give them the caffeine pick-me-up they needed to get through the school day. But now many have turned to higher caffeine energy drinks. Before we hear from him, we had CBC's Jim Agapito talk to teens about their thoughts on the drinks.
How many energy drinks do you drink a day?
Probably like once every few days I have a few energy drinks, just helping me get through certain tasks.
I've seen people have 3-4 a day, and every day they'll do that, and that's definitely unhealthy. I wouldn't do that, but some people do.
Yeah, I feel like if you are drinking them, you usually drink like 1 or 2 a day. But
I used to have, I think, 2 a day, like a couple months ago.
And why did you stop?
You know, like I got sick, I was puking constantly, I just had to cut them off.
Whenever I felt really depleted and I just used it, and then after like the boost of energy, it was like a crash.
I just don't really like them, honestly, and they're kind of expensive, so
it like helps when I feel tired, like kind of gives me more energy, like wakes me up.
Or like if I'm staying up late to do homework, then caffeine's the best choice, yeah.
Do you drink them during school time?
Nah, on the sleepovers and stuff.
And why is that a choice you make?
So we can stay awake all night.
Well, sometimes you just got to get that pregame buzz before a sporting event. You know, or if you're tired, got to get a schooling assignment done, something like that.
I work early in the morning, and I work also after school. So by the time I get to work in the afternoon, I'm pretty tired, and sometimes I just need like an extra pick-me-up.
Do energy drinks affect your sleep?
I would say sometimes, yeah. I wouldn't say they're the healthiest for you, but you know, they get the job done.
David Law is a grade 10 teacher at the Seven Oaks Met School. He has banned these energy drinks from his class. Hi, David.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Well, David, you heard what some of those students had to say about those energy drinks. Is that why they are no longer allowed in your classroom?
Yeah, no, it sounds very familiar to some of the conversations I've had with them. You know, drinking these, you know, sort of casually saying that they're drinking 2, 3 of these drinks that have the equivalent of 4 cups of coffee in just one can is concerning.
Is this a health reason for you, or are you seeing a change in students' behavior because of these drinks?
A bit of both. You know, you definitely see that they're jacked and they're, you know, they're artificially stimulated and jittery. But yeah, I have seen just a general increase of these beverages being consumed. And so I'm concerned for short-term health, obviously, but also long-term effects of this, of like that much caffeine, not to mention sugar and artificial flavors and all kinds of other stuff they're drinking for like a growing body and a growing mind.
When did you start to realize it was a problem? Because we heard from some of those students having 2, 3, 4 of these a day. Was it just the amount, or was there something in particular that you saw that was really concerning?
Well, I've been aware of this for years, and I think any teacher in the city or any teacher anywhere, frankly, will nod their head with this. And it's just been a problem that I think we've kind of brushed aside for a while. And I think, I don't know, I think I was just on my last nerve the other day, and a kid sat next to me with a drink, and I saw that it had, you know, 180 milligrams in it. And I just kind of went off on a rant and, you know, banned them from my class. And yeah, it's just, but it's a larger issue. And I think it's one of those issues that I think we don't prioritize as much because it's not drugs, it's not alcohol, and caffeine is not seen as much of an issue, but it is a problem.
How have your students reacted to this ban?
Oh, they totally understand. And that's the thing with these kids, you know, if they didn't push back at all, they know that these are bad for you and that they shouldn't be drinking them. And, you know, it was a half light rant that I went on. And yeah, they owned up to it immediately. And they totally understand that these are bad for you. But a lot of them just don't have that, you know, that executive functioning to be able to control that. And they have that thrill-seeking behavior that we see in teenagers that, and they just can't really turn that off.
Has this sparked a bigger conversation with you and your students about some of the impacts of caffeine on their bodies, about, you know, making better choices, maybe picking up water? What has been the outcome of this?
Sure, and you know, I'm not the first teacher, even in my school, to talk about this. And any time you have conversations with kids about these things, it does spark conversations about, yeah, just healthier choices in general. But ultimately, kids are kids, and they're going to make bad choices, right? So you can, you know, talk to them till you're blue in the face, but ultimately, they're still going to make those choices, you know, whether you want them to or not.
I love that you are bringing this conversation and making a bit more about than just the energy drinks. So I think this is something that we might start seeing in other classrooms. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
The food trucks are set up and the rides are ready. The Red River X gets underway tomorrow. Riley Lachuk is back next with what we can expect weather-wise for the X. Stay with us.
Well, here's what's in store for your Friday. Expect a sunny start to the day. 17 first thing in the morning. South winds 15 to 30. Good thing to bring the sunglasses for your commute tomorrow morning, that's for sure. 24 by noon. Our Wednesday, relatively light. Maybe a little bit of a breeze out there through the afternoon. 26 degrees. 3 degrees higher than our normal of 23 for this time of the year. Up to 28 on Saturday with that risk of a thunderstorm I was talking about earlier through the afternoon hours. 25 on the way for Sunday, and then we're looking at temperatures around 16 to 19 degrees with maybe a few more showers coming our way on Tuesday. Well, a Pekingese puppy in Parker, Colorado fell out of an uncovered townhouse vent and was trapped there for 3 hours.
Oh, local authorities and a crew from a plumbing and HVAC company worked to locate and extract the helpless pup from where it was stuck inside the home's ductwork system. His rescue is tonight's Daily Lift.
I wish I could see you.
What's his name?
Archie. His name is Archie Bean.
Come this way. Archie. It's elbowing right here. There it is. Can you see him or no?
You're right on his face.
Yeah, we got him.
Come here.
Yep.
Come here, buddy. Come on. I need treats or something. He's not coming out. Come on.
Oh, there he is. There's some treats.
Oh, there we go. Oh, my baby. Come on. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. There we go. There we go.
There you go. Archie. Here we go. Where's Mom?
He fell from the 3rd floor down to the basement and he doesn't have a cut on him. He's tired. He needs a bath.
Poor little Archie Bean.
I would also be tired.
I would also want treats. That's how you get me out of my hiding spots too.
So small. And to think that he got stuck all the way down there.
Glad to see that Archie Bean is safe, and I'm sure he's getting lots of cuddles tonight.
I hope so, because it's a happy ending.
Exactly. That's it for us here tonight. We will see you back here tomorrow. Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah.